everybody, it's a Tuesday, and I'm just here looking at the YouTube. I like to look at the YouTube page occasionally, and I wanted to show you this tab here. Share this tab. Said this is YouTube for me right now, which I think is it's the way it is for everybody. So I imagine that there's quite a few people who are not going to be joining us tonight because they're not going to get told. But anyway, hopefully you're all here hanging out. Let me hide this again here. So. So let's get to it. This is the Two Guys Tech Home Lab Hour. I am your dutiful host, Rich Tesla. This is our episode number 45. So I wanted to do something different, something that I've done many times in the past, and that is to kind of throw caution to the wind and see if I could cajole to entice to get my friend Tom Lawrence to come hang out with me and just kind of shoot the shit, talk about Home Lab, and do all that kind of stuff. And so that's what we're going to do. So this is a little different. And hopefully, as I'm pointing at my big screen here to my left, that says nothing but nothing. So it is what it is, friends. Anyway, with that, let me get Tom out here. Let's do it.
Hey.
Tom, I know I say this to you all the time, and I feel like I got to say it again. It always means a ton to me that you take time out of your busy schedule to hang out with me and to talk shop. And so I'm appreciative of that. How you been?
Fantastic. I was doing a bunch of miscellaneous things today. So I was like, you messaged me earlier. I'm like, I do not have real plans for tonight. So I am good. It's actually the only night I don't have any plans. So it's like perfect. My wife has gone to her friends and I'm like, I love doing live streams. So I love talking Home Lab and hanging out with everybody. So this is like perfect. Wasn't sure what I was going to do.
Well, I'm glad that I was able to, it's funny. Tuesdays are an interesting day. Not to mention it because, when I chose the day here, I looked at all of the people in our niche, including you. And I'm like, I don't want to try to compete because I won't. And two, I just one of those things where Tuesday works out really great. And so I'm glad to hear that. So I'm not taking away from something more important than hanging out. So I'm assuming your YouTube is down for you as well.
Yeah. So I was sitting on my couch and I had YouTube going and it panicked me a bit because I got logged out and I was like, what? Why am I logged out? This is dumb. Go to log in. And it's like, oh, maybe the Chromecast needs to be restarted. That didn't fix it. Then my phone, I was like, oh, it says log in through the phone. I'll just re-log in. That failed. And then I'm like, did someone hack my account? And I didn't think the obvious answer of YouTube's down.
Yeah.
I was worried one of my accounts got hacked. I'm like, how? I am so careful. I need to know how this happens.
Diligent. That's the thing. Well, we've all seen what happens when content creators get compromised. I remember the Linus thing way back in the day. Like that was for a short period of time. He was selling cryptocurrencies off his YouTube page. So that shit is scary for sure.
And I get I don't love the word, but they call them vishing attacks where they directly fish at. It didn't take long. One of my new employees from a few years back I remember from the time they hired him to the person had commented on some of my YouTube stuff. We figured out YouTube was one of the ways that they'd figure it out. And they were commenting on my live stream and someone got that. I showed him how OSINT I was able to find his cell phone number, but someone else had done that, found his cell phone number and started texting him, hey, this is Tom, and sent them links on their personal cell phones. And it was just like, I've had a lot of my employees over time, like get attacked in that way, trying to, compromise in the business because I talk about security. So I've always been really diligent about that.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've had to talk somebody down from buying an Apple gift card because the CEO contacted them directly on their cell phone to say, hey, I need 5 of these $50 gift cards right now. It happens a lot.
Well, and fun story, this is something, now that I've sold my MSP and I currently have no employees, I can talk a little bit more about it. A lot of people thought more of the employees were related to me. Any employee that wanted to have a level of anonymity, I let them use my last name. So there was actually several people whose last name was not Lawrence, but that was a way for them to obscure people figuring out. Some of them have very unique last names, and it wouldn't be a reach to figure out their name and then figure out who they were personally, and they wanted to remain levels of anonymous working for me, which I was fine with. I actually said, no problem, you can tell everyone, because they didn't want to put their last name on things, like put the last name Lawrence. That was a policy. So I just,
that's cool.
yeah,
That's
I mean,
cool idea.
first names because you want to be personal with customers, but last name, everyone asks them to fill it out. But it also means I still get tons of mail to some of the business address stuff because all the employees had my last name, so it looks like I still get all the mail. I knew how many of them, anything they filled out that way.
That's. Did any of them ask you to co-sign on some loans too while you're at it? Hey,
They
we got
did
the last name.
They did not.
Uh,
I did have an employee I co-signed a loan for back in 2006. That was a terrible idea, by the way. If anyone ever wants to know the results of that story, give me 2 beers in and I have a lot to say. He reconnected with me last year and apologized, which I thought was like, he's like, I know it was like 20 years ago. I'm a lot more mature now. I just want to say I'm sorry for everything that happened.
Was it genuine or was it court ordered? Is the question.
It felt genuine. I think he was genuinely a good person that could not resist bad decisions. That was like the story of his life for a long time. We ended up talking, and he's actually matured quite a bit and has a family now. And he says he always felt bad about screwing me over. I co-signed for a department for him, and he wrecked it. And then he disappeared because the law was after him. And I co-signed, so I had to pay for all the damages done from the party.
Ooh, yikes. Yeah, I mean, everyone's got an arc to him, right? Yeah, exactly. You learned, he learned, apparently, and that's
My learning was expensive. His learning did require some time. He did
some jail time.
Yeah, somewhere along the lines, he decided that's not the place for him. So he is matured and grown up, which I appreciated. So I got no hate. You know, we were all young, we were stupid. I was dumb for doing it. He was dumb for doing what he did. So I do blame myself on that one.
So what have you been up to lately? I know we talked a little bit offline about, or online, but off this, about your adventures, and you released that video today comparing VMs to containers to ReliC to Docker and stuff. So what have you been working on lately?
Oh, a little bit of Proxmox. And so with the consulting that I've been doing, there's been a few times, and I had a consulting project today where I think that, well, a couple days ago, but it kind of solidified today. One of the things that was important to the client was the way their hyperconverged worked and the way they needed it to work. And Ceph was probably the best answer for this rather large 200 terabytes of storage for their VMs. And I'm like, yeah, this hyperconverged setup would probably be benefit from Proxmox. And I've run into this before where there are situations. Now, I still really like XCP-ng, and I find it way easier to support because of the guardrails XCP-ng has around it. It's hard to do something dumb. It's easy to do something dumb in Proxmox. But my deeper dives into Proxmox have been really interesting. I've been doing more consulting with it. Therefore, I'm going to be releasing more videos about it. And I started with backups, because if you're learning Proxmox, I recommend you back it up. So that, because I have
a good idea for any sort of hypervisor.
I broke quite a few of them. So I have like 5 broken servers and 1 working one. I've learned how a lot of things work in Proxmox. I've learned how a lot of things do not work in Proxmox, and I've been aggravated by some of the ways things work. It was best described on my live stream last week by someone who said, if you're doing something in Zen, it was architected to be a multi-host system, versus Proxmox makes KVM behave in a multi-host environment. And I really feel that, because of the quirkiness that I ran into is just stuff that doesn't occur in Zen. And I'm realizing it's just the way it's handled in Proxmox, because it's forcing this concept on something that really wasn't built from the ground up with the concept of multiple hosts in the same way.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, especially when you talk about XCP-ng and Zen, I mean, they came from this different era of like competing with VMware on a, especially on the cluster level. And I think I don't know if the initial early Proxmox, maybe people in the chat might know, but if they had an intention for clustering, if that was, like you said, just kind of like we can just make them talk to each other. I mean, and the reason why I say that is that you would think if they had thought of that from the beginning, you would have native load balancing as a core component of it versus the shipping of your VMs between in a manual fashion, right?
Well, it's also the way KuroSync syncs a series of those directories for all the nodes. That is different than having a database and having the master of the database and everyone else is just a copy of the database in XCP-ng. That's why CoroSync can get out of sync, and the only solution when it's out of sync is to bring all your nodes down. That's just not a scenario you run into in XCP-ng. So that made it like, it was interesting. The thing I've also found fascinating, and please let me know in the comments if there's a way, because I can't find any good documentation of this. In XCP-ng, I can take a host, and let's say I have 7 hosts, and I eject one of those 7 hosts because I don't know, I want to take it offline or whatever. I can eject it from the pool, remove it. I have 1 less host. I don't have to reload it or anything. I can just say, you know, I want that host back, and I can say bring it back, and it'll come back in there. Now it wipes it automatically. So when you eject a host in XCP-ng, that host becomes like a fresh install. You don't have to do anything. It just does that. It says your database is gone. It reboots, and it's a fresh install that you can do whatever you want with. So you can bring it back in, no problem. It'll have no VMs on it. That doesn't work that way in Proxmox. My understanding in Proxmox, everything I've read, if you eject a node, there's a procedure by which you go through, and if that node reboots after you go through the procedure, it can come in and break things after you told it to go away. Also, my understanding from all the documentation says after you eject a node, wipe and reload that node. You can't just bring it back in or even take it to another cluster. For XCP-ng, you can eject a node out of one cluster, just bring it into another. Eject something out of your lab, bring it into the production environment. No big deal. That does not seem to be the case. It's not that it's so hard to reload Proxmox, just weird. It doesn't have like a clear out the settings and join this somewhere else. That's kind of confusing to me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking
it's
back to
you aren't ejecting nodes every day, but it's
sure
a strange issue.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to like the era of VMware too. Like VMware, you put something in maintenance mode. If you're running vSAN or some sort of like shared storage in the hyperconverged, you can choose to leave the data there, and you have a window of time in which that data is still safe. Yeah. And if you exceed that and you bring it back into out of maintenance mode, then it will have to resync if it's too far out of. But you can also say evacuate the host, and it evacuates all of it off. And you could do whatever you want with it at that point because it's got no data on it. So
yeah, and that's more how XCP-ng behaves with each host. It'll evacuate if it has VMs on it, even if it's not hyperconverged. If it has local VMs running on it, it can evacuate them over to another host for you. It has some level of automation that will handle that, which is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Which is how I learned about how Proxmox looks at storage. I love, and it is definitely more performant than XCP-ng, that Proxmox, if you set it up on ZFS for each local device, it's going to use ZFS send to get the data from one device to the next, or one host to the next. Yeah. That's amazing. Turns out, when you manually create pools, you don't call them rpool, it don't work.
Oh, so, really?
Yeah. This is the thing of, it just expects the storage to be the same on each one, which that's not a thing in XCP-ng. It's whatever storage you want to send it to. It doesn't really care if it's named the same because the storage is abstracted away. So it's kind of just an interesting thing that it's not really bad. It's just if you don't know that, you don't know those type of things, that's nuance you can run into that can kind of hang you up. Because they'd hung me up until I realized, oh, it's not just naming it the same in Proxmox. It expects like the rpool name / data / where the zvals are held has to be the same on each one. And because I created my own ZFS pool, I just didn't call it rpool.
Yeah, again, I think that again speaks to maybe I'm gonna get hate for saying this, but
I was using this, so yes.
Yeah, there you go. I was just gonna say, someone's asking what you're drinking. If that's to a level of maturity where they're missing that, because typically you would let each host should understand what the capabilities and limitations of the backing volume is that you're writing to, and it should be able to handle, it shouldn't need to have the same name on the other side, because that's because who does that?
I get what they're doing, because when you look at Proxmox, they didn't write ZFS. They brought ZFS in. They didn't write, like, they're not even managing. It's just managed part of Debian. They didn't manage stuff. So there's some expectations because Proxmox is a coordination tool between these different technologies that also you can control from the command line at the same time if you'd like, and send them back and forth. So Proxmox just goes, I have to assume that the storage is the same on each of these. And it's kind of strange though, in Proxmox Data Center, you can map the storage to somewhere else.
I was just going to say, you can just say migrate and you choose the destination and it just does it for you.
So there's a way to do it, just not inside of Proxmox on a cluster, just outside of Proxmox. And well, it's nuance, not world ending. It's more Tom learning, and I'll fully admit, because I've been doing Citrix since 2015. So I've got 11 years of the Zen world in me, and that's why I know it so well. Like, I don't even script any of the Zen videos. I'm just like riffing. Like, I know I've been using it for so long. I'm like, and migrating stuff and consulting on it for so many years. That's what drives me nuts. And everyone's like, barely anybody uses it. I said, you're right. The home lab barely uses it. That is a factual statement. But barely anybody. Oh no. Publicly traded companies use this all the time. Oh yeah. This is huge in the enterprise world. Bates doesn't employ 100 people running on VC fumes. Like, they actually have a business where they've sold a lot of contracts and are doing a lot of support because they've supported the enterprise space for so long.
Yeah, for sure. Have you, speaking of XCP-ng, I saw that they broke through and finally got rid of the 2 terabyte disk limit. Yes. I didn't say anything publicly, but I was pumping my fist at my desk. I was just like, finally, yes.
And it's QCOW too. So because they have full support for QCOW 2 now, something interesting about XCP-ng that's also not a feature of Proxmox. Now, XCP-ng will let you export to VMDK or QCOW 2. And it does it right through the web UI. It's not that you can export these in Proxmox. So the Proxmox people don't hang me
command lines, right?
Yeah. You just got to go command line. You can export things, but it's kind of novel. You can download right from the web browser. You just go in there and say, export this. And I want it as a QCOW. And then you can just bring that QCOW 2 right into Proxmox. And I had no problems migrating. I actually didn't just play with Proxmox. I migrated all my stuff and moved everything over.
Oh, you did. So your XCP-ng hosts are down then?
I have a lot of hosts. I have enough hardware. which hey, not to brag, but it kind of feels like bragging because I have several machines with over 128 gigs. The first time in history. I mean, these machines are like 4 or 5 years old, but I can't believe how much they've appreciated.
Dude, speaking of that, I was down in the garage where my cabinet is just yesterday. I was getting sent off the 3D printer, and my wife was like, so with the price of everything these days, how much is all this worth? I'm like, let me show you. So we started like, here's I've got one host, a single host with DDR5. So that's not a big one, but I've got a bunch of DDR4 hosts that are Gen 1, Gen 2 scalable with hundreds of gigs of RAM that were being thrown out, right? And now they have real value. And so I've got disk arrays, again, old enterprise storage arrays that were decommed and they were going to be crushed. And I've got a bunch of SAS SSDs. They're SSDs, not NVMEs, but they go now for like roughly $600-700 a drive. And like, all of a sudden I'm making money on my home lab, which was before I was the guy saving the company money by taking it away versus getting it, destroyed. It's amazing. We live in weird times.
It is, because we were adding up just how much insane amounts of storage we have, and we're like, this is like a real stock portfolio. Because we have
one that you can't leverage, apparently.
You can't really leverage it in the same way, but we have I think me and my friend at one of the essentially kind of like a mini data center that where you host a bunch of stuff at, I think we've got 3/4 of a petabyte, and that's a lot of drives now.
I know, it's amazing. And and I'm sure you saw in the news, there's a bunch of hubbub about WD announcing that all of their drives are sold for 26 already. And I don't know where it goes from here, honestly. Like, next it'll be like, oh, there's no more metal for server cases. So if you have a server case now, it's worth $1,000 just because it's made out of metals.
Well, the good, crazy. I'll at least relieve people with a little bit of good news. If you dig around, you got to look for the nuance here. My understanding is the underwriter for the insurance pulled out on some of the Oracle deals, because they are realizing that it may not be tenable what they're trying to do. And because of the not tenable nature, and even here in Michigan, we have a lot of people quite enraged about the data center. And I'm pretty confident that the protesters here are not going to let that place be built in peace. So my understanding from talking to the people where this is happening, it's already becoming a problem. Like, people have really gotten enraged. So, our attorney general is going after the energy company now. So our own internally, like at the top levels, our AG is going after because they won't release the information. It's all been like redacted. And she's like, redacted is not how this works. You have to tell us all the impact studies. We need to understand this. You can't say redacted. I think the claim, if I remember, is something like it's a trade secret to tell you how much power a data center uses, so everything's redacted. Ridiculous. Yeah, that's a great excuse. So
I'm gonna start using that in my personal life. I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. That's intellectual property. I can't share that. We don't have an NDA between us. We can't talk. But yeah, no, it's amazing. I know from personal experience after just acquiring a bunch of gear that I had closed on in the end of 25, and it ended up being another 300 grand more than it just for 1 month. And but I got it closed because the price wasn't going to get any cheaper, and that's kind of the amazing part where I was just. Now you said you're doing more consulting these days. How are your customers, or when you consult, like how are they seeing the costs of new gear? Is that like just a panic moment where they're just like, we can't do this now?
Yeah, no, they're still going forward. It's just been really tough for some of them because it's just a hard pill to swallow, because there's always that regret of, we were thinking about doing this last year and we decided we'll make it a first of the year project. We have a lot of regrets about that decision.
I bet they do.
One of them, like I said, the consultant job that I'm actually coordinating with 45 Drives on, because they want to reuse a lot of their hardware. They have a very specific way they want stuff set up and things like that. And it's a larger install, and their decision is, we're letting this hardware ride. It's on the edge of out of warranty. They were considering replacement last year, but they're not considering a replacement at all. They're like, we're not really overloaded, just the systems are reaching 5 years, and we have a great, it was cool talking to the guy, super organized. They're like, we have a great budget, we're in a profitable industry, we were going to start thinking about replacing and putting a few new servers, but that got tanked. It just doesn't seem like the most reasonable time to buy. So that's I've had that conversation with a few of them. One of them was interesting because I helped someone, their Azure bill for just the compute side of things, not Office 365 and that, was $20,000 a month in compute costs because of the high workload they run. Turns out it only took 3 servers. Now, when they originally bid to 3 servers, I think it was like 40K. And I think when they purchased them, it was like 60 or 70K. So the project still went forward, even though the price substantially went up. But they're also like, we're spending $20,000 a month on Azure. And it only took, they were just blown away that 3 servers were able to do the same workload as Azure, which was actually not completely true. The final result is it's way faster than Azure. They're able to get even more work done. They do a bunch of really heavy computational stuff related to geology science, really interesting things they do. But it's like a heavy workload. They have to punch in all this data that comes from all these geological surveys and underground samples, and I don't know everything they do, but it looks really cool. I looked at their website. I was like, so
it's all compute for them then. It's all running math and on CPUs. So are you saying that you've successfully repatriated a company from the cloud? Reasonably speaking, right?
Oh yeah, I've actually done this a lot. That's why I did my video, The Cloud Tipping Point. People think that it's like hyperbole. I'm like, no, this is like, I've done this many times. We've gotten people out of the cloud. There's just not enough companies that are willing to do a case study or talk about it publicly, which is a shame. But when I've joked and I've showed pictures of hardware and I'm standing next to, I'm like, who do you think bought $600,000 worth of crap standing next to me? He's like, one of the big projects we did a couple of years ago was moving things out of the cloud for people. I'm like, this is $600,000 worth of servers I'm standing next to. What do you think they're for? they're for stuff that's not in the cloud anymore. It's like, technically it's in a colo. So, and that's where this went. This was a colo as well, but they got a half rack and a colo. The other one more than a half rack, but
yeah, sorry. I was gonna say, I feel like it's not necessarily the cloud. It's more like the public cloud. That's. I mean, think about all the issues lately of just the reliability. Like it feels like I think it's the new year. We're due for another big one. Of course, we're having the Google or the YouTube thing right now, so maybe this is the next big one. But realistically speaking, like there's a lot of people who are moving to like either a colo or hosted private cloud where they get long-term contracts on hardware that doesn't change, it's theirs, and they just, rebuild everything and reconstitute away from Azure and AWS and GCP and the way it should be.
The hyperscalers are really where a lot of people just start with them. I'm going to use AWS. I'm going to use Azure. And then they realize the hyperscalers are also among the most expensive versus if you're using, I don't know, Linode or some of those. Not that you can't get the bill up really high with Linode. Sure. I'm debating on how much I want to keep in Linode because right now I was looking, my website's the cheaper of the two, but hosting my forums and website together is about $80 a month right now. Well, it ain't much, but I'm like, I wonder if I should move that because my forums are where most of the activity is. People come to the website. Websites are websites. They don't cost much to run, but my forums get, I think it's just under 180 to 200,000 people a week that come to them. So
that's great traffic. That's amazing.
Yeah. And there's a lot of activity. I've got my active user base is right around 6,000 or 7,000 because I purge people. So it's not just people that have signed up and I keep their accounts. I actually auto purge people if you don't log in for about a year and a half. I just go, you're going away. Because I want to keep a real active user list. If you're not using it, then whatever. I don't want your data. It's really weird because people say, I want a GDPR takedown of my data. I'm like, click. Bye.
Deleted.
I built these forums to have good, engaging conversations. If you don't want to be here, I don't want you here. Have a good day.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a smart idea. Sometimes I wonder if that would be a nice thing to see on YouTube as well, because I know that a big chunk of everybody's subscribership are onesie twosie people who may or may not be interested at all. It'd be really nice to have a real metric for how much people want to see the content versus the big number go up syndrome, right? So yeah, I like that.
I like the actual engagement I have with people. I've, genuine conversations. I've never been a big fan of Discord. I haven't deleted my Discord, and no offense to people who are using Discord, and I know you do as well, because there's not really a new home for this, but obviously there's a lot of controversy and privacy concerns with Discord, and I've always just been as much as reasonably possible, but at the cost of it's way harder to do. I've always tried to build things that I can own and host. There is a big downside, and it's handling people's identities, because I used to allow anonymous logins. I had to stop that because spammers won't stop.
I bet. I was gonna say that's very optimistic on your part.
Yeah, it lasted for the first 2 years of the forums. And I'm like, look, I don't know what to tell people because people have been mad that I'm not respecting their privacy. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't have a solution where I can have it, because a lot of people were just using like those simple login and those mail things. Yeah, those temporary email addresses are handy until the spammers use them, and then I can't stop the forum spam. And I'm really happy because just by blocking that, I get one spam post a week. Now, that's not a challenge for anyone who wants to come and try to spam my forum.
Heard it here, folks.
Yeah. So this wasn't an offer. This is just me and Wendell from Level 1 Text. He's got his forums too that are also quite large and engaged. And that is one of the reasons I built them. Is I really like the way Wendell has handled his over the years. And I like the community in there. It just has that extra effort of, you have to sign in, you have to create an identity there, and everyone goes, well, I don't want to do that. I want to create the identity at the place I have like 30 other places I go, and I get the ease of use you get with Discord for it. So I don't fault people for it. I have a Discord account, and I belong to too many things I said yes to. I finally grouped them all. It's like, why am I in all these different Discords?
Yeah, I think it's a smart idea to occasionally go through and purge those out too, because it's easy to get. There's a lot of projects that I like, open source projects that I join their Discord to keep an eye on and see what things are going, because it's really easy for them to blast out and say, hey, there's an update to this. Please go make sure that there's a CVE on it. Take care of it. Mm-hmm. But I think the big benefit for me with Discord is that I don't have another platform that is as easy to bring people into more of an interactive state with. Like the forums are great, but it's very asynchronous, right? Whereas I can have a direct conversation with people, and it's an easy way to have like you can build. I feel like you can just build relationships faster. Yeah, but it's also getting weird out there, right? It is. There's I
have a lot of DMs with people on Discord, so here's a weird thing. And if someone wants to email me, or if Rich, can you link? Because I have all my socials linked on my website. I can link to my Discord, but I can't link to me, Tom, the user of Discord. Like if someone wanted to DM me, I didn't see any way to do that. I Googled it, and I'm like, there's a weird hacky ways that people have to do it, but it's confusing.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I think that you have to be invited to, I mean, because Discord's all about channels, right? You
Yeah.
join a community and from there you can find people. Yeah, I think that's probably to keep the spam down.
Yeah, because I have on my website, people can message me via Signal, and that's been great. I've only ever gotten one spam message on Signal, and I like Signal Messenger. People then say, well, it's not privacy because it has your phone number, and I'm like, I'm fine with that. The fact that a phone is still required to sign up for Signal doesn't bother me because that is a bar too far for the spammers. You know, Telegram, I got rid of that account pretty quick. That's just full of crap, and so I tried it because people were talking about it years ago. I was truly disappointed in how bad it was, and I've not heard anything good since.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of Signal. I'm a big fan of the Signal Foundation too.
Yes.
I've sat through talks by the I can't remember what the gal's name is, but she runs Signal. Yeah, and I always walk away going, it's exactly it's you're right. Sure, it's tied to, and actually they do that. You don't have to have a phone number now. They did create a username means that you using Signal without a phone number.
You don't have to share your phone number. You can share a username, but to sign up for the account requires the phone number. That's
there you go. And
but I use a username on mine because you don't get my personal cell phone number when you find my Signal. In case anyone was wondering, you get a link to my Signal account.
Okay. Tom likes calls at 3:00 in the morning asking for help with XCP-ng.
I never answer my phone.
I don't either. It might as well not matter anymore, right?
I put it on mute like 5 years ago.
The same way. Now that I mean, this was a late stage thing for Apple, but when they did the ability to see the voicemails being left as transcript, you could be like, oh yeah, I do want to talk to this person. 99.9% of the time, I don't want to talk to the person. So I was correct in ignoring the call. But I'm with you. That's an asynchronous communication device these days. Cell phones are not for talking.
It is. Well, it's like that. There's figuring out communication. It's really weird. We've come to a future where it's more disjointed because it used to be IRC and text messages. The world has changed a little bit.
I was just checking to see if just because I'm idly interested, still down. So
they broke it right.
If you're going to do something, do it right, Tom?
Yep.
Go 100%.
Go big or go home.
Exactly. So what else is kicking around for you in your in the home lab?
Oh, in the home lab stuff. So I have a lot more testing I'm doing on some NAS equipment. A lot of it's related to true NAS. I'm thinking about putting ways together for the buddy backup. Me and my friend are meeting Thursday, and I've been trying to figure out the right way to do this. There's a complicated way and there's a less complicated way. So I'm probably going to do the buddy backup on the less complicated way. What I mean by this is everyone says, hey, ZFS replication is amazing. And me and Rich can set up our true NASs to talk to each other, but there's a big challenge. There is a ton of work that would have to go into limiting your ability to send data over here. And if I scoped out that ability where you can only run certain commands, you can only touch certain data sets, et cetera, for the buddy backup, you still can blow through a quota because ZFS replication doesn't respect quotas. So there's like all these challenges. Now, another way around that's in the engineering, but not inside of TrueNAS and probably I don't know if it'll ever be, there's a way you can mount, I believe it's with LXC containers, but I don't know if this tooling is just in the BSD world. I heard the BSD people talking about it on 2.5 admins, but there's a way you can basically create a jail container in the BSD world and mount it so you would get a root data set that's root to you, but it's actually nested to me. And that would limit your scope to only that. So you'd only be you wouldn't be logging my TrueNAS, you'd log into this and have access. So there's some thoughts I have. The easy way, SyncThing. I can just SyncThing does encrypted before send. So me and whoever else we're going to share buddy backup with, we both set up SyncThing. I don't get to see your data, you don't get to see my data, but it's all nice and in sync. It's all restricted. I can put whatever parameters I want around that SyncThing in terms of that data set can only get this big. So you may only have 10 terabytes of storage on my server and no more. So those things might be an easy way to do it. And I think this is going to be helpful because at least enough people have maybe someone they can figure out how to work with, friends in the home lab community that have some spare storage to lend. And everyone wants an offsite backup. So cool, you offsite backup to me and vice versa. And me and my friend are actually doing it to avoid the cloud. We have a lot of data. We live geographically close, and kind of the joke is you don't want it to be too geographically close. I'm like, look, if something lands and destroys both of our houses, we have much bigger concerns than where's our data.
Not going to worry about that data anymore.
I'm not worried about data. If there's an event that takes out, we're I think 8 miles from each other, 7 miles from each other. If some event takes out both of those, we have something else to concern ourselves with.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember you brought that up to me a long time ago in one of our live streams you were mentioning it is a brilliant idea, and one that I hope you find a way to really kind of crack and make generally available, not so that you are sharing with everyone else, but so that it becomes something that we can all share connections.
I want people to know how it works is the biggest thing, is so they can engineer it themselves. I know there's companies that are trying to work on like apps to do it and things like that, and then there's been some concepts around it where you can join shared storage, and the amount of storage you share to the larger network. I've never seen any of those really hit critical mass or take off or be as reliable, but being able to say, hey, I want to have a NAS set of buddies. Now, I've also talked about like some of the basic ideas. You can buy a generally inexpensive, it used to be inexpensive computer and right. Put a NAS at someone else's house, put a NAS at a relative's house. That's another way to do it. So there is absolutely possibilities for doing that as well. But I want to get the concept in people's heads. You don't just have to back it up to the cloud.
Yeah, I have a similar dream idea in my head. I want to find a way to create a trusted co-location sharing platform for people to share. Because like you talk about storage, we all have terabytes and terabytes of storage that arguably I'm not going to be able to fill up with Linux ISOs, and if I did, there's obviously something questionable there. But and I would really like to be able to find a way to do that with compute, because I've got a bunch of hardware and I'm already paying the power anyway because I'm running the server, and to find a way to kind of utilize the concept of tenants, but also tenantize to make sure they alliterate correctly, and make it so that people can have their own little world to test and play. Because I know, just talking to people in my community and others, who like hardware is getting more and more expensive, and it does feel like we are entering a phase in basically capitalism where maybe people don't get computers as easily anymore.
Oh yeah,
because of the cost of components, and because rent a computer. Here's your thin client-esque sort of approach. And I'd really like to be able to have platforms for people to learn and play and do the things they want to do. There's a whole bunch, as I mentioned this earlier to a few people, the first thing that came out of their mouths was like, yeah, but somebody's gonna like do something bad on it, and you're just giving away free compute. And like, yeah, you have to find a way to fix that problem, right? Mm-hmm. Which means you have to somehow work to build trust in a relationship, and I think that's the tougher part of than the logistics of just co-locating.
I could see it. Me and my friends, we joked about this a lot. My wife's worried about it. There's a data center for sale. Well, it was for sale. I think it's finally been taken off the market. A small one. It only holds like 40 racks, so it's a mini data center.
Oh, small. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's 40 racks in there. And they were selling the building, and they had a generator. Needs a lot of updates. It's not like turnkey at all. But me and my friend were talking like, I'm not really a sports car guy, but do I get a midlife crisis data center? And what will we do with it? And I'm like, community things. How could we host this inexpensively? Let people do community things. I think there's some way to build that out. You get the right people, and if the people are paying for it and they're not trying to use it for nefarious things, and you have a vetted community, I think that's a possibility.
Well, I think we also have some of that for the one time this might actually work. Like there are at least laws in the United States that indemnify you as a hosting provider.
Yeah, the common carrier laws.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that translates down to people doing a thing, but I guess if there's transactionally money involved, then you kind of get some of those fringe benefits of that.
But there is kind of a thing. There's a double-edged sword with common carrier. Common carrier may indemnify you from this prosecution for the nefarious thing that has occurred upon your data center, but please give us the name of the person who did it or the log so we can chase them down. So you now become culpable within it. So there's not no strings attached. They're just, you're part of the chain of custody of people handing over information, and you don't want to be in between that. That also means that you would be handing over maybe more than you want, because law enforcement generally goes more broad. They know a thing happened. If you can't identify the user, they just want all the users. So you end up in sticky situations there.
So that's a good point. Yeah. It's turning me off the more I think about
it. These are scenarios me and my friends talked about as well, that we decide that maybe we do not need midlife crisis data centers.
Yes. So a comment there from Leavix, midlife crisis data center sounds like the best. Yeah, I like that. It's better than buying a Corvette. That's all I'm saying. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that I feel like I want to foster this ability for people to, if people can't spin up their own Kubernetes clusters and learn how to do stuff, I'd really like to be able to foster that, because it feels like it's a bit of a dying opportunity for people. And who knows, in the 2 years from now, when the AI bubble pops, we might be having a completely different conversation. Maybe shorter than that, hopefully shorter than that. But we'll see. We'll see what the landscape looks like. Everything might be worth pennies, and they're asking you to cart it away in wheelbarrows.
Yeah, I don't know where it lands, and I've been working on, maybe I don't know if I should do a video on this. Like, I don't do a ton of video essay stuff, but I might do it. I used to do a lot of writing. Now I do most of my longer form writing, oddly, on LinkedIn. So if anyone follows me on LinkedIn, there's actually a longer form version of Tom posting a lot of things on there for some reason. I just decided that's the place because I have a following there, I guess, and I'm too lazy to spin up another website. But because I don't have a blog anymore. I used to blog on my own website when we redid the website, because after I sold the company, it was all about technology blog. Now I just have these longer thoughts. But the point I'm getting to in a roundabout way is, what happens if the AI bubble pops? What does it leave behind? And I think this is where it'd be really a fun topic to discuss, because those H200s and those really specialized pieces of hardware and the liquid cooling that Supermicro has done at these data centers is not going to make it to the home lab community. No. It's too proprietary. It's too uniquely purposed hardware that it's not really an equivalent. But there are things that will be really interesting. Right now, the AI companies are losing money. I think it was like 7 or 8 billion that OpenAI lost. And there's just really showing the cracks, and this is not a reasonable, tenable thing for this to continue on forever. But this also means whatever models they're at now, because the training of these models is so expensive, no one will fund the training. No one will leave these things turned on. Now, we have tons of free models that we can download and self-host. Those will remain, but those will also remain as they were. They will not, we can still use RAG to pull data in and enhance them, but it's going to be really interesting, because all of a sudden, cool, I've got this local AI system that can do coding, and great, but it doesn't know this new language that came out because no one can afford to rebuild it anymore. And by the time AI falls apart, AI is fending off lawsuits all over the place because they've sucked up all the world's data with no regard to who owns any of it. Facebook notably pirated all these different books. I mean, there's like lawsuits all over the place, but once the lawyers aren't funded, they will quit defending these companies. And that means no one gets to try to rebuild these systems again. And that becomes a really interesting topic, because does AI, I can't not say that there's some things that I'm kind of amazed by, and the conversational nature of it, and the way I can just, hey, I need a bash script that does these things, write it real quick, and I just get what I want immediately, which is amazing. But to think that we would be able to fund that in the future or not fund that is a really interesting determination. You know what I mean? It's like, we just won't be able to put all this data in. The data sets are limited. We're not allowed to, unless we pay royalties to all these people, consume all that same data again.
Yeah, I first I'll say, Green Protect, thank you for the $5. I appreciate that.
Thank
you. The thing that I hope is that we get a bit of a reset where more of a pragmatic approach happens, like the bubble burst, but we realize there was some value in it, and then it doesn't die, because I don't think it can at this point. But there's been so little effort placed on efficiency and designing things to better utilize. everything that we do now is just to jam as much power and as much performance as we can into silicon, and that's untenable. Eventually, we will not be able to get to this theoretical limit because we'll reach the maximum that you can, in terms of power, you can shove into a piece of glass. But
yeah.
So I hope that if there is a burst to it, that one, it doesn't wipe out the economy. That's the first one, because it is propping up the economy. Let's not make any buts about it.
It's artificially making the economy look different than it is. But it's also not like the housing bubble, because that was leveraging my house, your house. This is leveraging wealth from made up numbers from very wealthy people. So not that I'm saying there's not an economic impact from the fall of it that will not affect the people who are not worth billions of dollars, but it's an interesting one because life kind of goes on for a lot of us. We're indirectly impacted by the investments and things like that, but most of the AI stuff is not public, it's privately held. That is a huge distinctional difference, because when you have privately held companies losing money, that means you're losing investors' money, not all the citizens' money. That's actually why they're trying to go public at some point, because they got to spread the losses to everybody else.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's OpenAI's approach, right? Is to try to get as public as quick as possible.
Yeah, when you talk about them losing $7 billion, that's not like of market cap. That's not of 10 million people who own shares. That's whoever's putting funding into it. That list of funders have lost that much money, not Tom and Rich.
It amazes me that number alone doesn't cause a retraction, which tells me that there's a lot of people with a shitload of money out there that don't have a problem with that, which is another mental gymnastic to jump through.
We are deep into sunken cost fallacy.
Yeah, exactly. Just a little bit more, Tom. Just a little bit more. We can make this work.
This is that gambler, man. It's like
I'm gonna hit the next one.
The casino has leveraged everything. He's just got one more roll. One more roll. He's already signed away the house.
Here's my teeth. Here's my keys. Here's my underwear. Take it all. The next one's gonna hit.
One more roll, man. Come on.
Yeah. I will say though that I have been spending more time in building with certain tools like Google's anti-gravity, and it was the first time I've actually seen a kernel or a glimmer of what could be. I don't think it's like anywhere at the point where we're going to be prime timing, vibe coding into the Fortune 500, but it did. Like, I could build things based on me telling the things I want to do. Now, are they secure? No.
Right.
Are they going to stand up to an audit? No. Can I read the source code? I can't even code anyway, so no. But it starts to show these. Maybe it's a smoke and mirrors thing, but the output starts back up when I restart the application, and that's more than a smoke and mirror to me, right?
Yeah. It's really clever watching it do things, because it doesn't necessarily know what's good, but it knows what's common and it knows what works. So when people are amazed at it, hey, look, it rewrote this Atari game. Like, I've seen that as an example, because it took some Atari game and built it in Python. So it built it in a modern language. Well, there's so many code examples that were given to AI as its data set. Of course it can reproduce that. It knows the common, it knows the frequently built things, and therefore can create them. Now it's up to us to use that as building blocks to build something more creative or different. But some of the bigger picture that people may not be realizing is software is not an asset, it's a liability. The reason you document it in any of your security forms is because they have to know where those liabilities are. And software is definitely a liability. The version number is very important, because we need to know what status that liability is in. Does that liability, have some unpatched flaws in this version and things like that? So when you think about all this vibe coded stuff, I mean, the vibe coding is the asbestos in the walls of our future. Just like before, someone thought it was a great idea to put asbestos in everything, and we realize today it is not. And that's kind of what I feel like. We're using these tools to create more liabilities, because how maintainable is the code? It spits out spaghetti code sometimes. Spaghetti code works. Spaghetti code is hard to maintain.
Yeah.
I need a more complicated AI system in the future that's better, that will produce a better system that can undo the spaghetti from the previous system.
Yeah, to interpret the spaghetti and provide alternative spaghetti that is also equally unreadable, but fixes that one bug and introduces more.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think a lot about just years of consulting, years of working in tech. The things I think about all the time are sustainability of anything I'm doing. What does it look like tomorrow? How does this object get maintained? Because I hate when I set something up, and before I ever do a video, the reason I broke so many Proxmox servers is before I'll do any type of Proxmox videos, I have broke it in many ways. I didn't go through and next and yes and set this up like a house of cards that don't sneeze, don't let it fall. It works as long as you don't vary from this. I want to know what those very paths look like. I want to know what updates do things. That's why I migrated all my VMs over to Proxmox. I still have some XCP-ng systems running, but they're boring, which is great. Usually boring is what you want in the corporate world.
Yeah.
But I want to know
performance.
I want to know where those edges are. I want to hit those edges. I want to see it break. I want to see what updates do things. And that is what's really important to me, is that sustainability. So I think about that from any of the software development. And it's cool. This app is neat. It does a thing. It produces a thing. But what happens when there's an update? What happens when something goes wrong?
I just can't wait for the future and to see what technical debt ends up looking like in a post-vibe coded AI world. Because anyone who's worked in this business, and for sure that like tech debt's the thing that like it is the pariah that follows us around no matter what. Yeah. And that's based on somebody's software that was written by people. And I just imagine the future where the tech debt is being run by by AI software that no one knows how it works. And I hope that when that cycle comes around, I'm out of the business and I'm sitting on an island somewhere.
Well, and it's funny because we're digging on vibe coders and things like that right now. But the reality is there's a lot of terrible coders. Complete natural stupidity is still a thing. There's still people writing really bad code. I was in a security discussion with my friends because he does a lot of security consulting at a high level. And he's like, third time today, someone argued with me about why RDP, shouldn't be opened. He goes, I just can't get these people to stop. So I tagged him in a post by the Differ report about a ransomware attack that came through RDP. I'm like, just keep sending this link.
I think human beings are the original vibe coders. So
I
don't mean to totally shit all over AI, because I do think that there's a place for it. I'm seeing. In the beginning, I was very skeptical, and I don't want people to think I'm not as skeptical, but I'm seeing the value add. And you mentioned earlier that like, build me a bash script that does X. I had a conversation with a hiring manager who was hiring for a position, and we were talking about like whether or not that guy should be asking people if they know how to write scripts. And I said to him, no, not anymore. We live in a world where it takes 10 minutes, as long as you can say what you need it to do, and it can produce it, and you can test it, and validate it, then you don't need to be like, hey, how strong is your bash shell scripting? Like, it feels like an old thing to ask for people on.
Now, one of the things I love AI for is solving the one-off problem, because tons of problems we solve in tech are one-time problems. I need to get this data migrated to this server. I need to manipulate this group of, or this piece of information and stick it in this other thing over here. That's not a repeatable thing. It's like you're migrating stuff. That is so common of a task that we have to do in tech, muxing things back and forth between versions of stuff. AI does a great job of that. And that's one of the things I really like, is those one-off tasks like that you don't necessarily build repeatable code. Or I'm not great at regex, but it is. Okay. So I can dump a bunch of logs in it. I said, write me a regex pattern. I can put in a gray log that will parse this. And that's all I have to do, this. And then I paste in like a big pile of logs, and I know what I want in there. I see all the spaces, but I'm like, just figure it out. I know I could sit down and do this eventually.
Right. Yeah.
But this is great, because within 20 seconds, I had a copy and paste regex answer. I was like, oh, cool. It parsed all these logs for me. Look at this. Great.
Yeah. I mean, that's avoiding the sunk cost fallacy, right? Where you're spending more time trying to do something that, there's like there's those birds, I think they're called megapotes, that will like dance for their mates, and they'll be like, hey, look at me. And they do all this extra effort just to find a mate, where they're wasting all this extra time. Like, nah, you could just get right to it. It'd be fine. But there's all this effort that goes into it. So
I use AI to bounce a lot of psychology terms off of it. And it's fun because I know what I want to say, but I want to find a better way to say it. So it's so good with phrasing. I'm like, all right, I know what I'm trying to get across the point on this. And what is that called? Or they're like, oh, that's called heavy tail statistics. And I'm like, cool. Because it was the way someone was presenting the data to manipulate some data to try to tell me something. And I'm like, this is not, no, I could rant about this person, but instead, what is it called when someone does this? And it's like, that is called heavy tail weighted statistics, where it does the count instead of the volume. And I'm like, yes, that's what they're doing. They're counting and assuming that's the problem, and it's the volume of data, not the count of the data. So, and then I was like, perfect explainer for this person to try to say why they were wrong and explain how, you know, how to actually look at this in a more concise way.
Yeah, I agree. We're heading towards a time where we don't have to have degrees in statistics to answer complex questions.
Yeah.
I mean, but data is data, so you can always try to find a way to manipulate however you want, and it's good at helping you do that too, as well as manipulate yourself.
Yeah. And it's more about being concise when I reply to people to make sure my answers, because I like arguing with people online. I can't say I like it. I just have fun with the banter, and I do this on LinkedIn a lot. So, and someone will, as they will, use statistics that I know they're choosing, hand-picking things to try to make a bias. And so, you know, I'll make sure I highly correct that and give a good explainer. Long form. I write a lot on LinkedIn, like I said.
Yeah, for sure. I use it for like when I'm talking to, when I need to write something quick, I'll write exactly what I want to say. And then I'll say, no, let's make this a little bit more professional, but still in my own voice. And it comes back with the way it should be said versus. So I try not to argue with the trolls online, because I feel like it's a loss for me.
It is a loss. I never read the book, but I like the title, and he did a podcast interview. And I just like what it's called, Hug Your Haters. They had a bunch of things, but it was, one of the things is hug your haters, but never reply more than twice. At some point, you're having a wasted time. So give your reply. I also, when I argue online, one of my lines that I love to slap people with is the same one I start with. I'm not replying to you to change your mind, but other people are watching who are interested in this conversation. So I'm going to give a very concise reply. You don't have to reply. I'll put in parentheses. I just egg them on that way. And it makes me laugh because they don't know. It's like, I just put you in a lose-lose situation. Because I said, I'm not here to change your mind. I'm here to, call you out and show others watching the conversation. I don't even care if you reply. And it just infuriates some of these people.
I'm learning so much about why I should never get into an argument with you, Tom. I appreciate you showing me your cards now.
I see someone has read some of my LinkedIn posts. They said Tom's LinkedIn posts are the best. Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I certainly have a lot of fun, and I've made angry many people at large companies, including Cisco, a couple at Palo, a whole lot at Fortinet. And so,
but those Fortinet guys, I mean, they
deserve it every minute.
Every minute of it. For people who don't know what we're talking about, Fortinet is the company. Their firewall and security products. It's been slow since it's the new year, but it just felt
they've had 3 this year. It's February.
They're
the
Vibe coders before vibe coding.
Yeah, the alternate path login was really interesting. I've just been busy. I haven't had a chance to do a follow-up Fortinet video for 2026, but it's on my to-do list really soon, because alternate path login, threat actors created an account at Fortinet at FortiCloud. They created the account and then used that account to take over everybody else's account. What they simply called alternate path login, they found out, and I'm not fuzzy because I've been waiting for the write-up on it, and no one's done a good write-up, and I don't have access to the hardware, and I'm not a reverse engineer if you gave me the hardware. But essentially, they found out that when you sign up accounts, there was a path traversal that allowed you to sign up, Rich's account at Fortinet and then take over Tom's account at Fortinet. You could just take over all these other systems. I don't know what they were doing, if it was URL manipulation, because it's in their cloud manager. But the part that struck me is they didn't just have to fix the cloud manager. They had to block anyone not running the latest version, because if you used it, there was apparently, I'm guessing without a reverse engineer looking at it, it was key reuse on all the systems. Because why would any system allow you to pivot to another system because they should all have unique keys that are tied to each person's account.
Right.
So they had to block, and they told everyone, because I was talking to Fortinet people about this, you had to update your firewall for you could tie it back to the Fortinet cloud. That's odd. So that must mean it needs a new key. Does that mean there's the same key on everyone's account? Is that what they exploited? I don't know.
It kind of sounds
I'm
like it based on what you're
because
saying.
I'm guessing, but that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's
There was also an unscoped API in Azure. Probably, if I had to guess, I heard about it. If I had to guess, Wiz Security wrote it up. So,
yeah, Wiz is doing some pretty great stuff.
Yes.
Now they're owned by Google, so hopefully they can still keep.
Yeah.
Doing
Do you know why Wiz had such a fun time tearing apart Microsoft? My understanding, the backstory I heard from security people is Wiz is staffed with the people who built Azure. They were the people who built Azure, but then ran into managers who said, stop building here. But they're like, we want to make it more secure. And they said, no. And they said, okay, we're going to go start a security company. And we know where all the bodies are buried. So they went and started a security company and dug them all up and built a $30 billion security company by digging up all the bodies that they planted. So not only they planted, what happens at Microsoft is they get so far. I've met some brilliant people at Microsoft. I was at a hacker conference last year and talking to one of their security engineers who was great to talk to, of how much she fights with management of, oh, I know all these things need to be done. This is our conversations in management, but that'll make it hard for customers. And so don't do that.
Yeah. And if there's any company that should be on their game, it's Microsoft with Azure. I mean, the obfuscation, the visibility that you lose being in that cloud means that you will likely never know when someone compromises it, because it's happening in a layer you can't see.
Exactly.
Or your logs extend past 90 days and you don't pay for E5s.
Right. Logging, that's extra.
Who needs that?
That's an upsell.
That's I mean, I know that's an old thing to throw back out there, but I mean, I just got to know who in management's like, yeah, no, we're going to charge for this. This is something you charge for. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah. Well, they're good at monetizing things, not necessarily making them.
Yeah, I mean that's bankrolling Microsoft, right? Is all their Azure stuff. So they're doing something right, and making features and building the ship while they sail it, basically. And that's scary.
Monetizing that ship while they sail it.
Yeah, exactly.
It costs a lot of money to be on this cruise ship. It ain't done. That you got to buy more.
Buy more. We need another deck, Tom, and you got to start paying for that.
We're only worth $1 trillion.
Oh, jeez. Well, we are past my 1 hour time. Every time we do this, I have such a great time.
It's always fun.
Hope you do too. Yeah, I appreciate you hanging out, and I know that the chat was crazy tonight. So
lots of people.
You always bring the fun. So let's call it. And again, Tom, it's great to talk to you. Thanks so much, and everybody in the chat. We'll talk to you next week, and we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, Tom.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Get my mouse over here and hit end stream. End stream.